Hey, welcome to the Nursing Dose with your host, Farah, aka Dr. Laurent. Today, I want to talk to you about entrepreneurship, a couple of things about entrepreneurship. But first, really wanted to get started with what is a nurse entrepreneur? What do they do? What does it mean? And if you do want to get started in terms of being a nurse entrepreneur, what to know before you start. All right. So let me know if you guys are out there watching. Let me know what city, country you are watching from. Drop any comments in the chat. Even if you're watching the replay, put it down. And let me know what your questions are regarding entrepreneurship or just business in general. Okay. For those who don't know me, like I said, I am Farah Laurent. I am a nurse career coach, a keynote speaker, an entrepreneur, a conference host, the host of Nurses Making Business Moves. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, definitely check that out. Go to nursesmakingbusinessmoves.com. You can check out the conference there. I've been featured in multiple media such as the Jennifer Hudson Show, Black Enterprise, and Sigma and beyond, so many different podcasts and things like that. But basically, I help new graduate nurses land six-figure roles in their preferred specialty, whether it's the ICU, the ED, labor and delivery. I'm helping new nurses land their dream role. And I also am helping nurses build their personal brand so that they can unlock opportunities and get paid speaking engagements, start their businesses, or grow their businesses. All right. So again, let me know in the chat if you have any comments or questions, but we're going to get started, right? So what is entrepreneurship, or what is being an entrepreneur really mean? So there's various definitions to that, but essentially the most basic one is entrepreneurship is really taking ownership of your idea, of whether it's a business idea, some type of innovation, and bringing it to life, whether you're doing it yourself or getting a team to implement your business idea. That essentially is what entrepreneurship is. Okay, so what is a nurse entrepreneur? Really, it's the same thing, right? It's creating solutions to problems, building a business, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to quit being a nurse, right? So a lot of people think that entrepreneurship just means that you're going to quit nursing, you're not going to use any of your nursing skills or knowledge, but that is not necessarily the case, right? In fact, being a nurse entrepreneur just means thinking more like a business, moving like a business, and thinking less like an employee. All right. So many nurses are actually starting their own side hustle or starting their own company, making it their main business, right? Their main stream of income, getting multiple streams of income by doing various things, right? So let's get into it. Why do people become nurse entrepreneurs? A lot of times it's because they're either being pushed into entrepreneurship, maybe they got laid off, or maybe they're seeing something in the healthcare system or just in the market that is missing. There's a gap. They identify a problem and they come up with a solution or some type of innovation or invention, right? And they want to implement it, right? So that's one aspect of it. The other thing is sometimes entrepreneurs just want to do things their way and they don't really want to fit in the box, right? Traditional jobs in the job market, you apply for a job, you have a skill set, you go, you get paid for that skill set. And a lot of times you're trading your time for money, right? So you perhaps, for the nurses that are watching, you work a 12-hour shift or 8-hour shift, you put in the time and you trade that and you get a paycheck, right? You get money for it. But entrepreneurship goes beyond that, right? A lot of times you're solving a problem, but the problem that you're solving is so great or massive, and the transformation or the result is so big that you're not necessarily trading your time for money. You're more charging for the actual solution, the result, the transformation. So essentially, you can be working less and making more, right? So let's say, there's a couple of people that I know that have created apps, for example. Yeah, putting in a lot of time up front to build that actual app or whatever technology that is will cost a lot of money, a lot of time up front in the beginning, but eventually, right, you'll get paid for that app without really doing much work, right? Same thing with service-based businesses. That's an easy one to start as a nurse, right? You're giving your intellectual property, your intellectual knowledge, and you can charge essentially whatever you want. And that can be in terms of your business model, whether you're a coach or a consultant, especially if you're consulting for, let's say, huge educational, systems, healthcare systems. They have an issue, you come in, you're a consultant, and you really just name your price. You're not really getting billed hourly, right? So that's kind of like what you need to think about. So let's break it down. What are a couple things, let's say that you are thinking about wanting to start a business? What are the options, right? So you can, I mentioned it earlier, you could become a coach, you could become a consultant. Those are easy service-based businesses that you can start because you don't really need any really big capital to start, right? You don't really need a lot of money to start. You don't actually have to have a location where you're doing these services. You can simply provide their services online. So if it's a coaching service, for example, me as a nurse career coach, I coach new graduate nurses online. You can either do one-on-one coaching, and that's what I first started with. I had one client who was a new nurse, and I would help them land that six-figure role. We would have a program, whether it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and we would do one-on-one coaching, and you set the terms, right? Now I've moved on to a group coaching model where it's one to many, right? You're one person delivering a service to very many people. And then again, you set your price, but you can grow or scale the business a lot faster if you do a one to many model, which is group coaching. Some other people that I know are doing subscription based models where they have a community, they provide their intellectual property, whether that's courses, whether they go on weekly and present something. They have a community and they pay something to subscribe, right? To be able to access it, whether it's annually or monthly. Okay, so that's a service-based business. Again, coaching or consulting are huge. A lot of nurses do that. The other thing is you can just provide educational workshops. You can be a speaker, whether a keynote speaker, and get paid for your speaking services. Okay, and all these things can be done while you're still, let's say, working at the bedside, but wanting to explore starting a side hustle, right? So if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship, like I said, Nurses Making Business Moves is the conference that I'm hosting, and I've built this space specifically for nurses and other healthcare workers who are interested in starting a business or growing their business, and they want to be in community with other nurse entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs who are experts in marketing, sales, finance, these types of things, so that you can actually grow. So the conference is going to be in Tampa, Florida, March 6th and 7th. And you can get tickets now. They're available now. Nurses Making Business Moves is the website. I'll put it up right here so you can check it out. And I also have a pitch competition going on. That pitch competition ends tomorrow, January 5th. So please submit. All the information is on the website if you are interested in joining the pitch competition. All the details are there. All right. So let's get into the 5 tips and what you should know before you start a business or want to become a nurse entrepreneur. Okay. So, number one, I will say is being a great nurse clinically, right, does not always equal being an automatic great business owner, right? It takes a lot of skills, there's a lot of learning involved, and it doesn't just happen overnight, right? So, there's some basic business skills that you need to learn. You also need to learn some business terminology, marketing, sales, pricing, setup systems, being visible, right? So there's this term out there that a lot of people use called a solopreneur. So, meaning you're by yourself starting your business. So it's called a solopreneur, right? Eventually, you will need to start hiring maybe some contract type work so that you can get help, let's say with marketing or some of your operations or systems, or if you want to hire an admin or executive so you can start growing your business, right? So that's number one. However, I will say many nurses do have the skills to start a business if that's something that you choose to do. We're great problem solvers, we're very adaptable, we have great communication skills, and typically we deal with people all day, every day, right? And that really is what business is, right? You're always constantly dealing with other people, whether you have a product that you're selling or a service that you're providing, it's really people to people, right? So I think nursing gives you a strong foundation so that you can have transferable skills that go to business. Okay, but just know that it's something that you're going to have to work on, just like we do professional development, personal development in nursing. The same goes for business, right? Um, and one of my biggest advice is to continue to learn, not just from the nursing industry, but to get out and go to business conferences, such as Nurses Making Business Moves, right? But you can also go to business expos and things like that so you can learn more. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is your nursing license is not your business, right? So you don't necessarily have to have a business that's in nursing or in healthcare. So let's say you are interested in being a consultant. You can be a consultant outside of the healthcare industry or outside of your specific field. Let's say you work in pediatrics or labor and delivery. You don't necessarily have to start a business with that particular expertise or knowledge, right? But obviously, right, your intellectual property, your expertise and skills is what you're going to get paid for. But you have to really choose what it is that you want to do. Okay. So you're getting paid for your problem solving skills, the results that you provide, the outcomes, and the transformation, right? So really, it's your intellectual property and what you're delivering, okay, in terms of your product or service. Okay. Which brings me to number three. Before you start, you need clarity. Okay. You need clarity before you go out and just get yourself an LLC and register a business and pick a name. Okay. So many people try to rush and go do this before they have their business plan, the business model together, and then they're really confused. So it really starts not just by, getting a business website or just getting a logo. You have to really be clear on number one, what problem are you solving? Is it needed in the marketplace? That's where a lot of people go wrong because they think, oh, I'm just going to write this book or I'm going to create this course, but they don't know who their target audience is, right? In order for you to create a product or a service, you have to know who your target audience is. Who are you going to be selling this course or your services to or the product to? And there needs to be a high demand, right? Or at least enough demand that your business can be profitable, right? So, a good example, quick example of this is obviously the newspaper industry is no longer like, yeah, some people still buy papers, but it's not a high demand industry, right? Because over time things have changed. So, that's a quick example to give. You know, a lot of people always say that good businesses are typically health, wealth, or relationships, right? So, health, a lot of people are always trying to get healthier, whether that's losing weight, getting workout memberships or things like that. So, that's health. And then wealth, people are always trying to learn how to make more money. So, if you have a business surrounding that, but again, you still have to be clear on target audiences. It just can't be every. The more clear you are on your target audience, the better your marketing is going to be and your messaging so that you can actually speak to your potential buyers, right? Your clients. Okay. So don't be quick to go and get a website, get a logo, get all these things if you're not really clear about who you serve and what it is that you actually do, what transformations you provide. Okay. And many people struggle with this. I know I struggled with this myself when I first started because I wanted to just help every single nurse. But then I really got clear on who my target audience was, and that's the new graduate nurses to help them with career coaching. When I got clear on that, my messaging got more clear and they knew who I was talking to, and they were able to come to me as a nurse career coach to help them land their dream roles, right? So that's big. So essentially, it's like knowing your unique selling proposition or your value proposition as well, right? What is it that you do that's different from everybody else, and why people should come to you specifically? And that also, there's a little bit of branding in there as well. Okay. And then number 4 is visibility is a must. It's a non-negotiable. Yes, there are some businesses out there and you can't compare yourself to these big massive companies, but somewhere they did start with a personal brand. And you need to be visible. So when I say visible, that means creating content on social media, online, building a digital footprint. So whether that's publications, creating content as I'm creating now, whether that's short form videos or longer videos on YouTube, doing YouTube shorts, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. Right now I'm live streaming on multiple platforms on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. I typically do TikTok, but I didn't get a chance to do TikTok today. And again, you have to decide where your audience lives and put the content out there for them. Okay, so visibility is a must. It's non-negotiable. And my biggest advice is if you do in-person events, whether that's workshops, conferences, retreats, mini events like dinners, lunches, or you're just meeting people at conferences and networking, that's a good way to build trust and also to start building your brand because people get to know you one-on-one, so they're able to trust you. They can also refer you to other people. And that is important, obviously, in business to start building that know, like, and trust factor. Okay. And how do you do that? These days, it's social media, especially live streaming is one of the best ways to do it because you're, omnipresent on multiple channels. Okay. And then obviously, I always say it's not enough just to be on social media, but also going to live events is going to be very important for your business when you're building it. And if you're asking about branding, I'll have more branding episodes as we go on throughout the year. I'm actually going to be switching my podcast to focus more on branding. I'll still talk about business and career growth, but I'm going to be switching a lot of my content more towards branding and how to create that brand for nurses. It's a must. If you're thinking about starting a business, you definitely have to build a personal brand. Okay. And then number 5, entrepreneurship will trigger you. It will make you uncomfortable, and you really can't do it alone, right? So some people think that they can go through it and just do it by themselves, but you really need guidance. You need to be coachable, have, a community, have a coach to guide you along the way. And this is what the community that I've built over the years, Nurses Making Business Moves. This is why I built the conference. So we have a community of not just only nurses, but other business owners that can be in community, learn from each other, support each other. You know, it's essentially like referrals, right? People are doing business with each other, going on each other's podcasts, creating content, collaborating, partnering, right? So, Nurses Making Business Moves is the conference to be at in 2026 if you're thinking about starting a business or growing your business, okay? And really, personal development is something that if you want to be a nurse entrepreneur, it's a non negotiable. You have to continuously learn to build your business, and you can't just do it alone, right? Eventually, you'll have to start hiring people on a team. And it's okay to start alone, obviously, and then slowly build up your team. But, most people or experts will say that you'll need someone to help you in the leadership, operations, management department. So you need like an executive admin person to start. Eventually, you might need someone that can help you with marketing or potentially sales, right? And then later on, obviously you'll have professionals like a CPA and things like that. But those are some, early hires that you would say. And then they don't necessarily have to be full time, right? But you can start small and, hire part time or whatever eventually, right? But the biggest thing I will say is to do those early things before you start. Really get clear on what it is that you want to do, who you're serving, what product or service are you offering, where is your target audience. And the biggest thing is going to be marketing, visibility, creating that content, and how are you going to get your potential customers, which is literally in business, we talk about lead generation. So, lead generation meaning how are you going to generate leads, which is your potential customer base. That could be through your website, through creating content, whether it's videos, speaking engagements, going on podcasts, writing articles, referrals, all these different things. But you need to be doing content consistently. So, I've been doing content for about 4.5 years, and I've been going live every single week for about 4.5 years. Okay. So that's part of my lead generation, right? And of course, I'm telling you guys, if you want to learn more about business, and not just from me, other people in the game, we have Precious L. Williams, who will be at the conference. She'll be hosting the pitch competition. So she'll be there, and she is a keynote speaker and 13-time national pitch champion. And there's multiple other speakers that will talk about how they've grown their business, some to 7 figures. So it's definitely a must. So let me put back the website, nursesmakingbusinessmoves.com. You can find out about the pitch competition. It ends tomorrow at midnight. You could submit a 90-second video and have your chance to win and pitch live in Tampa, Florida at the conference. Okay. There'll be judges there, and, the winner will win some cash prize, right? So that's big. And you'll be in community, network with all these people. Last time we had people come from 20 different states and also Canada. This time we have people coming from all over. So it's definitely a great place to network. And it's March 6th and 7th in Tampa, Florida, at the University in Tampa in their entrepreneurship building. Okay. So that's it for me. Again, to summarize, Number one, is being a great nurse does not automatically make you a great business owner. So you definitely need to, acquire some business acumen skills, such as marketing, sales, systems, visibility, content creation, all that stuff. Number two, your nursing license is not your business, right? So having a clear business plan, a clear business model, knowing what it is that you provide, the outcomes, the transformation, and then your intellectual property, how to really package and position that. Number three is you need clarity before you actually start and register your business. And that clarity creates confidence. And then know your unique selling proposition and value proposition. Number four, visibility is a must. You must build your personal brand and also be visible online and in person and create that digital footprint. Okay. When people Google you, they should know what it is you do, who you are, what your personal brand is, what you stand for, and the transformations that you provide. And also get testimonials because that's important. Okay. And then number five, entrepreneurship is not easy. It will trigger you, make you uncomfortable, but you need to keep learning. Surround yourself in community, be coachable, get a coach, attend events like the Nurses Making Business Moves conference. I also am going to be opening up my business mastermind very soon, an online version and in person. I'm also going to be opening up my new grad nurse cohort, which is the new nurse to dream role cohort that opens up January 21st. And if you are interested, if you're a senior nursing student or a new graduate nurse that is looking to get into your specialty role and make six figures, I help nurses get roles under 90 days. Not everybody is eligible to enter the cohort, but if you are interested, message me and let me know. My next webinar and free training for new nurses will happen January 7th at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can go to nursejob.com and I'll drop all those links later to register for the free training January 7th at 1 p.m. And you'll find out more about how to join the cohort when you join that free training. Okay. And I'll drop all the links to the conference for those who are interested in starting a business or growing their business. If you have any questions at all, just direct message me, or drop it in the chat. And for all those watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Precious, for dropping by. And I'll be doing more lives throughout the week.